I've had a passion for music my life, as I think most of us have that are in this business. I had different points in my life where music was very much a crutch or a thing that got me through a point. Yeah, like tough points in my life or points where I needed it. I didn't really think it could be a business. It felt very far away from me. So I started writing about it during, when blogs were a thing. And I blogged a lot. And our blog over time got more and more attention. Didn't really make money with it, but it got us some credibility with people. And I was able to develop a position at a bar called Bardo in Miami to book talent for them, both locally and nationally. Because my taste in music was out there, and the people that were hiring from the bar had something to base off of where I would come from with the music that I would program them. Bardo was something that I was doing starting around 2010. There's a lot of research that I put into Bardo as I was doing the job of, booking talent there. 80% of the music we were programming, bands and DJs, were from Miami, and a lot of the musicians were complaining that there was a lack of a scene structure here for them to advance their career. So bands that were really fantastic were moving to New York or LA because it just didn't have a lot to support them there at the time, as the scene was very siloed in these different pockets of the industry, and no one was really putting together big events for local talent. That and, booking talent in Miami was difficult to get big bands here because of the geographical location to route them here. So I figured if I could put in some big festival offers from some bands that have been eluding Miami and mix it with local bands that, felt like they needed a bigger stage to play on, it gave them something to look towards and would help to boost both functions with bringing bands to Miami that were missing us and then complementing them with these really good alternative projects from artists that were from here. Most of the local selection for 3 Points is done throughout the year, from my experience and my team's experience booking at Floyd and The Ground and Bardo back in the day and Space. We get to stay up with a lot of locals and hear their new projects and hear new renditions of what they're doing, and it allows us to consistently be tied to the local scene. So that helps us to pick the most emerging and cutting edge projects at the time of that year, and where do we put them, like what stage do they go on and where they play. So that's a big part of the curation process, is like you really got to be inside of the scene and really have a good temperature on the scene, so that when you program 3 Points, that the people that are really pushing the envelope here in Miami are the ones that are getting that shine, and that we're not missing people or pockets of the scene that are really pushing the scene forward. For the festival, the most challenging scenario I faced probably would have been the hurricane scare we got in 2016 and 2017. We had Hurricane Matthew that was basically pointed to us directly to land in Miami on the Friday when LCD Sound System was supposed to play. And, up until maybe 20 hours before the doors opened, the city wouldn't give us clearance to do the festival. So for about 7 or 8 days before that, we weren't selling any tickets, and everyone was asking us to cancel. Also, with it being a state of emergency, LCD Sound System got scared and didn't end up coming. We ended up losing a lot of money, and none of it was in our control, and we were definitely set up to have a really good year that year. Again, it happened the next year with Irma, And we got very lucky as a city, and were able to put on the 2017 festival, but that ultimately made us move to February. And those are things that were out of our control. With the club, I think, these neighbor situations, noise situations, city politics, things that are a little bit above our pay grade that Ultra was dealing with are now starting to happen, or have been happening since we owned it. And that seems to be an ongoing challenge that we constantly have to be very smart and political and thoughtful with our actions as a club owner, because the city politics and these buildings that have a ton of money over here can make the development of the area change a lot for the club scene. I think the main thing you gotta have if you want to start a festival is patience. You're not going to. You'll be judged off of a year, but you really will make your brand off of 3, 4, 5 years in a row with consistency of programming and how you treat your people when they come through the doors, meaning the experience, the organization, cleanliness, the safety, and how nice you are to the people that come there. That goes as like the backbone to put all the great things on there, like music and proper sound systems, no faulty equipment, run on time, don't have cancellations, all the other stuff that comes with it. People will forgive you a little bit as long as you have those things in place, which is, the curation and the expertise to be nice and safe and easy with people. I think that is probably the thing you have to go into it with, is just to think it's going to take about 10 years for you to fully see this thing actualize. And if you have an amazing year, the expectations then go up to have even a better year the next year, both with lineup and the execution of the festival. I think that the position that I'm at now, allows me to have a lot more freedom with what I want to do. Take the DJing out of it. I think being able to own the club and buy the talent, I think some of the risk is off of me as far as like every show has to make money. We do a lot of shows at the Ground in Floyd, and even up at the Terrace that don't really make money, but they're a band or an act that I really want to bring. And if we're winning most of the time in that building, we could have Solomon upstairs and do really, really great, and then have, a band like Rye come downstairs to the Ground, and maybe it was a little expensive, or like Jungle, or like Ives Tumor for the first time. Like those things maybe weren't the biggest money maker, and they cost a lot to do, but I think it allows me to have the freedom to express the building as a whole as an owner, as opposed to just being a promoter and winning on one show or losing on one show and having to kind of like base the next show I do off of that. I think that gives me a little bit more of an ability. And as a DJ, I definitely am able to express myself through that by owning a club, because I can play at certain spots, and people try to book me in other places because not only am I work as a DJ, but also because they know me through 3 Points or other platforms of the music industry that I do. I love Colombia. I've had some of my best gigs, and maybe my best gig ever at Kaputt last time I was there. I think the promoters and the owners are super smart and very resourceful for what they can do down there in a very growing market. Financials are not the easiest to work out there for some of the guys like Frankie at Breakfast or Pizarro and the guys at Kaputt. But I see what they do, and it's very creative and innovative, and they work very well underneath the circumstances they have. As far as the crowd is concerned, it's some of the most fun-loving, dancing, enthusiastic, knowledgeable people that I played in front of. Really good parties, really friendly, really warm, and very open to progressive sounds. I think as I've gone there over the years, I've had to play more and more eclectic and more progressive every time I go there, because the crowd there is just, they're expecting more. And if you give it to them, they give it back to you. The last gig I was at Kaputt was definitely one of the best I've ever had, and I think I've had a couple of my favorite gigs ever at Salón Amador. Best places I played at. I played a couple times in Israel this summer, which was very cool. I played a back-to-back with this guy named Yuri Klapter out of nowhere in this bar called Mondo 2000 or Mondo 3000 in Tel Aviv. I also played a impromptu back-to-back after 3 Points last year in Floyd. It was like a secret party we did for the staff, and it ended up getting really packed, and Danny Days and Masio Plex came over afterwards. And when Masio came in, I was playing one of his songs, and him and Danny came up, and we had a couple drinks, and then they ended up playing back-to-back with those guys for about 3 or 4 hours until 8 a.m. on the Sunday of 3 Points last year, which was probably one of the more fun sets I've ever played, because it was in the comfort of Floyd, where I know everyone there, and my whole staff was there, and a lot of the artists were there, and everyone was kind of just rejoicing and happy to be done. So it was a really cool energy inside of the room, let alone to play with Masio Plex and Danny was amazing. I think people just have less patience in the process of listening to music. I remember back in the day, I would scour the internet on like cdnow.com or Napster and listen and wait for something to kind of move me. I'd buy an album and I would listen to every song until I found like my favorite B-side cut on the album that made me happy. My patience was a lot greater or longer and more. I was just more willing to dig. I think people now just need this instant, like, send me the song. It needs to be 2 to 3 minutes to catch me, and if it doesn't, rarely do they have the patience. So I think that you have to kind of give them like the instant gratification to hook them in, and then have a lot of stuff to make them feel like they can continue to go back to that well to find music. So I think people at this point trust the 3 Points brand, and I think over time we've been able to give over and over and over good and reliable content to them. So I think they trust us if they see something lower on the lineup to go discover it. I think Spotify's great. I know you use playlists, and I use playlists to share with our friends and to share with what we're listening to. I think those things are great. Sharing music and tracks are a lot easier these days, but I think it sucks because I don't think we're focusing on complete albums like we used to. I think some of the acts I really like right now, Moses Sumney, Yellow Days, Tirza. These are acts that I found that have put out like 1 or 2 albums and are developing right now, and I really like them. Let me think here. Park High Jin, Lisa, yeah, she's been developing more and more. But also from Miami, IMVT, Donzi, Richie Hell. I like this girl named Maya. She's also from Miami. Sings in Spanish. I would say that those are Those are the ones. I mean, in the techno side, which I listen to a lot right now, and I find like a lot of good electronic stuff. Red Axes, they're not really emerging at this point. They're kind of out there, but they're great. Curses, Zanker Brothers, Mall Grab. I think that's a bunch right there.